Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Jacksonville Buzz. I am your host, Adrienne Houghton. Joining me in the studio today is Tracy Whipple, and she is from SpaghettiHead Media.
That's me.
Yes,
moi.
it is. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. So you have a short film. Not a short film.
Not a short film. Started out, was going to be a short film. And as these things tend to do, grew.
It grew and grew and grew.
Yes.
But it's at the Jacksonville Film Festival. Yeah. And it's called Broken Doll.
Broken Dolls, Reparation from the Holocaust.
Okay. Explain.
The lighthearted subject
I know,
of the Holocaust.
Really. So obviously it's about the Holocaust, which is quite an intense subject.
Yes.
Why?
Well, it started out, it's about the Holocaust, but it's actually more about like the fallout in a family and how it affects generations, any kind of traumatic situation. But in this instance, the Holocaust happened to be what was in my family, the trauma history in the family. And basically, I mean, my mother was getting older at the time, and when your parents get older, you start to think of all the things, hopefully you start to think of all the things that you should ask that maybe you didn't ask the other ones before they departed, and morbid thoughts, I know. But I had gotten also to an age where I was aware of history.
Sure.
And how history repeats itself. And I just wanted to be a little more aware in my family and how I proceeded through my life. And so I just said, I'm going to sit and ask my mom some questions. I'm going to take out my cell phone and record. It's going to be not a big deal. And as we started talking and delving into the subject, I realized that this was not just anecdotal stories that she would tell. And my mom was quite sassy, very funny. So she would tell these stories and we would laugh and didn't go much past that. And I started thinking, just this little voice in my head saying, there's more there, there's more there, there's much more there. And at the same time, I happened to serendipitously come upon a situation in my life where I had access to the breadth and depth of knowledge from a very well tenured documentary filmmaker in Europe. And I started speaking with him, and he said, do you really want to do this justice, this subject? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, well, let's get really serious about this. And that's when I sat my mom down. I said, are you prepared to really talk to me and share with me? And my mom, said she was. I'm not sure in retrospect, after we got to toward the finality of it, I'm not sure she would have agreed if she realized where we were going to go with it, but we went there. And it's interesting because the first half of the movie is our talks together, and they got really deep and sometimes very painful. I promise I won't cry. I'll try not to.
It's okay. I'm sure we've got tissues. But
Please, I know where are the tissues, where are the tissues. And then kind of the second half of the movie almost feels like a different movie because we had to make a serious turn when we learned of some very interesting information that deserved a lot of attention, and it just took off from there. Yeah, and a lot of surprises, good and bad.
Would you have thought, growing up, I'm going to be a film producer?
I would have.
Wait, I mean, was that on your list of priorities?
No, I wanted to be in front of the camera all the time, and I am in front of the camera a lot, actually. I wanted to be an actress. I was a showgirl in the circus for a while. I had a life in front of the camera or on stage, but it didn't really dawn on me that I had what it took to also be behind the camera or direct and create a tapestry that people would want to pay attention to. And it was interesting with documentary films. I mean, I don't know what your background is either, but with documentary films, you're supposed to write the story ahead of time, which always seemed very confusing to me because how can you write a story before you've discovered the story? So that was a lot of brain power.
It's like a mood board, but writing it down. Yes.
That's what my story ended up kind of looking like ahead of time, was more visual.
Yeah.
And again, what I wrote completely is not what ended up happening because of what we discovered.
So is it pure fact, or have you got some sort of fiction artistic license, shall we say, running through there?
I'm so glad you asked that, because it is all, it's fact, and I made sure that I went through it very much like this until I had to be shown something. I didn't do a lot of the investigation behind the scenes because of that very issue. I didn't want to know ahead of time. But for the parts of the story that my mother had to recall, there were no, there was no historical proof in visual form. So there's actually animation that we brought in.
Clever.
Yeah.
Very clever. When can we see this film?
So it is at the Jacksonville Film Festival on Sunday. 5 p.m. there's this block of films that basically are reflections on the Holocaust, and there are a couple of other films that I can't wait to see. I'm dying to see them. The Jacksonville Film Festival I'm super excited about because we were part of it last year with a little fiction film that we made, and now I'm so excited because this is my true heart's tale.
We're going to have to wrap up here. But
okay.
I know.
That went so fast.
It did go fast. It did go fast. I want you to come back and tell me about future projects. Because I'm sure
I would love to.
This has started. You're on a roll now.
I would love to.
Tracy,
so
it's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely.
Good
Thank
luck.
you so much.
And don't forget, if you'd like to know any more information about Broken Dolls, Tracy Whipple, or the Jacksonville Film Festival, you can find it at dailynewsnetwork.com.